Hiya guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro Adventures. Because at the end of another week, the end of another poll, we've got a fantastic little win for the James Bond 007 RPG adventure, You Only Live Twice. Now this is going to be a PDF review, so we're going to be going over to the computer desktop in a wee second. And as usual, I'll be back at the end of the video with some other channel related stuff and some other poll related stuff. But before I do that, I'd like to take a moment to talk about Patreons, who this week I've been told are a more charismatic bunch than James Bond himself. Now this is surely only one of the many reasons that I love them, but I'd like to thank them from the absolute bottom of my heart because their efforts are truly appreciated. But if you'd like to join them and help support the channel, and I sure wish you would, or you'd like to see these videos a week early, or you'd like to see the Patreon exclusive videos that we've got up over there, or one of the other levels of patronage we've got, then there's a Patreon in the description down below. If you check it out, it'd be very much appreciated. But anyway, let's have a look at You Only Live Twice. So, this is You Only Live Twice for the James Bond 007 role-playing game from Victory Games, and it came out in 1984. And it is obviously based on the story and movie of the same name. But it is quite different. While it keeps a number of the same beats as the movie, there is an entire plot introduced, which I don't remember from the movies. Obviously, I'm not the world's biggest James Bond expert. I've seen most of the movies. I don't even think I've seen them all. But this is one I remember. It's the one with the volcano lair that they have to break into, which is probably my earliest memory of a James Bond film. I remember that before anything else because I thought it was very cool. So I was kind of excited by this adventure because it's going on that. And, as I said, it keeps some of the beats from the movie, but introduces a totally different plot, which I think is far better. Anyway, going to the back page, or the back cover. You Only Live Twice. Where is the missing space lab and its cargo of death? Briefing. A Soviet space laboratory has somehow dropped out of orbit and crashed into the Sea of Japan. Unknown to the rest of the world, an experiment aboard the lab has gone out of control. A deadly strain of virus has mutated inside the lab. If the lab is opened, the virus will escape and decimate the world's population. It is now a race against time to discover who has found the space lab and to stop them from releasing a plague that will destroy civilization. Mission. Your search is for the fallen space lab, takes you through the exotic streets of Tokyo and to the outer islands of Japan. As your investigations proceed, you find there is far more to the mystery than accident in space. Treachery and deceit await you at every turn. Finally, you must come face to face in a showdown to the death with the dreaded Japanese master assassin, the Ninja. The You Only Live Twice adventure package contains an illustrated 56-page Game Master's Guide with complete instructions on running the adventure, an agent's briefing dossier from MI6 with 8 mission sheets that provide clues and maps for the players, a stand-up screen containing a map of Japan and layout of the major villain's lair. Now, the startup of the movie has Bond faking his death and being buried at sea. And that's where the name comes from, You Only Live Twice, because Bond is believed dead. That's something which isn't carried on in this adventure at all. It doesn't happen. And they kind of warn you of that. Warning, assuming this adventure is exactly like the movie, can be dangerous to your character. So, as usual, this is the spoiler point, where we'll be going inside and we'll be getting more details of it. But the adventure's pretty good. I'm very impressed with it. The quality of the handouts is astounding. Really nice stuff. I always rate things by Call of Cthulhu who have really good handouts, but these are a step above that even. And the adventure, as I said, builds on the movie and is actually better, especially for players. Especially the way it's built out for the James Bond role-playing game. Because 007 or 00 agents are far more powerful than ordinary agents. So if you're playing ordinary agents, it's for a party. But you could play this one player as James Bond-like if you're a 00 agent. Anyway, going inside, so if you don't want spoilers, turn off now. Inside, we've got the Games Master screen, which has the layout of the volcano lair, indicating where everything is around the seas of Japan. And then we're on to the Games Master Guide. not particularly any details there except the copyrights of 1961 and 1984 for when the story was originally written and when this was written. A nice table of contents, and then introduction and briefings. So it talks about how they have replaced Spectre. They obviously don't mention Spectre because they didn't get the copyrights for that or Blofeld. They have talked about how they brought in Tarot, and they're using the Tarot leader Carl Fenric Scorpios, which reminds me of the villain in the volcano layer out of the episode of The Simpsons, so I think was called Scorpio in that. It talks about what's in here. So there'll be stats for the autogyro, there's information about Tokyo, etc., etc. And then there's a massive briefing for the characters. And we get an introduction, which is 2 pages long, basically. Apart from that tiny bit at the top of this page, it goes across pages 4 and 5. And the players are told that this space lab has fallen out of orbit and has disappeared, and they need to go to the Sea of Japan to investigate. But the British government has extra in this, because the virus on board it is based on a British design. The British had been developing various genetic engineering stuff, and they'd created a virus which they then instantly destroyed because the British are better than that. We don't use biological warfare. Yes. But the Soviets had stolen this information and put it onto this space lab to experiment on. And they've created it, and it's out of control. So the British want to find this before the Soviets discover it and blame it on the British, because they're like, oh, the British did this first, it's their fault. So MI6 is very, very keen to stop this getting out. Seems these virus strains originated from some experiments in genetic engineering. When our researchers discovered how dangerous the new strains were, they were ordered to end their research. Somehow their research must have been leaked to the Soviets for a healthy price, I have no doubt. So, we've got information going on to C branch, because obviously they go... Oh, sorry, Q branch. They go to discover what gadgets they're going to get. It's James Bond, after all. And they've got Little Nelly, the autogyro, which is apparently armed with more firepower than an AH-1 Cobra attack helicopter. We've got attaché case, we've got pen alarms, just various stuff they will get to take part in the adventure. Then we've got the briefing for the Games Master, talking about how Scorpios has stolen this and a Russian space shuttle. But the space shuttle will be encountered where it's been left because the lab's been taken back to the volcano lair. So all the investigation is going to be leading that direction. You can see the Russian space shuttle there. So, we've got notes on the adventure, the general course of the adventure, stepping through all the steps of it. Mission timetable, because the players only have a certain amount to do it before the bad guys get around to opening the lab. While they've heard the rumours of the virus, they're not sure they believe them. And after 6 days, once the clock started ticking, they'll open the lab and release the virus, spreading a massive plague, decimating the world's population, apparently. We've got information about props and maps, and important GM information. We've got the NPCs. So we've got the enemies. We've got Carl Frank Scorpios. Let's just call him Carl. Dr. Isa Nakahara, Tetsuro Asato, Helga Brandt, Kushido, Kangaroo or Bert Smith. We've got allies Taiga Tanaka, Aki, and Kissy Suzuki. And we've got Richard Henderson. Now, Richard Henderson is the person that the players are being sent to contact when they arrive in Japan, but he's been killed and replaced by Kangaroo, Bert Smith. You can see the images are very, very similar. So, they arrive in Japan, they travel out there, and they are to meet up with their contact at a sumo wrestling match. So, we've got that section. From then, he takes them back to the original contact's house, where he has set up an ambush. So he will still be pretending to be an ally of theirs when a bunch of assassins come in and try and kill them. This is the encounter with the ninja that is talked about. They've got katanas and wakazashis. We've got a floor plan of the house where this encounter will take place. Actually, we're skipping through. There's Scorpio's quarters, Sato's office, volcano control room, science station, Yokohama docks, the ship that's being used to transport stuff. I thought there was another map as well. Okay, and then they will be led onwards to encounter an ally, a member of Japanese intelligence. He will lead them to meeting Tiger Tanaka through Kangaroo. He may have headed on himself to assassinate Tiger Tanaka, because that's actually his mission. Kangaroo was hired to kill Tiger Tanaka, but once the players came on the scene, he was told to intercept them as well in his role, which he wasn't exactly happy about, so there's some interesting role-playing going on there. They then breach Asato Industries and find clues about the shipping, encountering Asato himself. They go to search the Yokohama docks and find the actual evidence of where it was shipped to the volcano islands, and then they go out in Little Nelly to scout out these islands. So they'll be flying to search because there are multiple places where these volcanoes could be. So they go out to scout them, and they're intercepted by Taro agents. So there's a helicopter chase involving an Apache gunship as well as lighter helicopters. They then take part in the raid on the volcano complex. So we've got all that going on as the climactic scene of the movie where they parascend into the volcano as it opens. It looks like a volcano with a level across it, but it's just a painted cover which hisses open and they can go in. So we've got information about the various sections of it. We've got Scorpius' quarters, but he will attempt to escape. He'll give them a speech, and he escapes undersea to a science station where the space lab is actually hidden. So they get to encounter that and try to stop it being opened. And finally, we've got some consequences. What happens if they succeed? What happens if they fail? And different ways of altering the mission. And ways to link onto that. Further missions. Now, if Scorpios and Nakahara escape with the virus, if they escape to another location. We're on to the chapter about thrilling cities, so it details out information about Japan and Tokyo. And then we've got included in the PDF here the player handouts, so they'll be contained in this brown envelope for your eyes only. Newspaper cutting, Soviet shuttle and space lab missing. We've got a check filled out to Bert Smith, identifying him. A scrap of paper. Images of the ship. Images of the volcano lair, as you can see it's opening with a helicopter landing in it. A loading manifest, and as I said, these are really, really nice. These are a step above the standard handouts, even of the high quality that Call of Cthulhu does. I love the boot print on a loading manifest, as if it's been dropped on the floor of a warehouse and stood on. And having worked in warehouses myself, that happens a lot. We've got a map of the island, a memorandum, very, very nice. The full colour definitely works for them. A map with different information noted on it. The information about Little Nelly, the gyrocopter, very, very nice stuff. And that's us to the end of it. Now, as I said, I think this works better than the movie itself. The movie is one of my favourite Bond films. I like it a lot. But this connects the dots and has this ticking time bomb behind of the virus getting released. It's not just the players against an enemy trying to stop Tarot. They are up against a virus being released and wiping out a large percentage of the world's population. The weight of this adventure is very, very heavy. If the players are successful, they've saved countless lives. If they fail, countless lives will be lost. I really, really like this one. So that was You Only Live Twice, a great little adventure, lots to love in there. And that won the poll this week with some 35% of the vote, in one of the closer races we've had recently, but a still dominating lead, because in second place on 26% of the vote was Epsilon Cyborgs for Gamma World. In third place was Sundown on Star Mist for Star Frontiers on 25%. And lagging way back behind was Film at 11 for Cyborg Commando with only 13% of the vote, which I should have really expected. Cyborg Commando is never going to do well in these polls, but it's a fun game and lots to enjoy looking at in there, even though they're often quite bad. Cyborg Commando really didn't have a high quality. But anyway, they're all cleared out of the poll as usual, and we're going back to a retro RPG one. And 2 of these are viewer suggestions, and 2 of these are to plug in gaps in the series of games. So when I'm doing these rules videos that I'm planning, where I follow through the evolutions of different rule systems from different games, I have covered all of the games in that series. So first up, we've got Middle-earth Role-Playing MERP from Iron Crown Enterprises in 1986. Now this has been a viewer suggestion, but I really wanted to cover this one anyway. I remember MERP from back in the day, loads of fun. Next after that, we've got the Morrow Project from Timeline Limited, 1980. Now this is another suggestion from a viewer, and it's kind of sticking on theme because I covered Aftermath fairly recently. There are a few post-apocalyptic games, and post-apocalyptic settings are one of my favourites. But the Morrow Project is another game I don't know much about, and I'd love to be introduced to it because somebody suggested it. After that, we've got Star Wars Saga Edition from Wizards of the Coast in 2007. Now this will be plugging in the gap in all the versions of Star Wars. I've obviously covered the old D6 versions of the rules, I've covered the FFG version of the rules, and I've covered the D20 one. So this is plugging that final gap in all of the Star Wars games. Although there are various versions of the FFG game, they all use the same rule set. So this will be plugging in that final gap, and I'd love to have a look at it. I remember playing it back in the day. Fantastic game, loads and loads of fun, even though it did have its limitations. And finally we've got Call of Cthulhu 2nd Edition from Chaosium in 1983. Now I've covered one version of Call of Cthulhu in the past, but I think it's worthwhile covering all the versions so I can cover the evolution of rules in this series that I'm planning. But it needs to win the poll first, and I've got a feeling I know what's going to win this week. But I've been proven so wrong in the past, let's see what happens. Now, what else have I been up to? Well, over on RPGgamer.org, I'm still working my way through the Legacy comics. These are following Cade Skywalker, the grandson or great-grandson of Luke, as he fights a reborn Sith Empire. And while I'm not the biggest fan of the series, it does have its moments, and I'm enjoying working my way through all the comics and stacking them out for the D6 version of the game. So if you're interested in that, come over to RPGgamer.org and check it out. But anyway, as usual, I think I've been wittering on for quite long enough, so thank you very, very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.